Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
These words by Eleanor Roosevelt. How true. For it isn't enough to talk about peace. One must believe in it. And it isn't enough to believe in it. One must work at it. Amen. Good morning, everybody. Here comes Kate Smith, and God bless America, followed by a patriot to call in with our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning, good morning, good morning. And a good morning to you and yours. I'm Zeb Bell, and welcome to Zeb at the Ranch for a Monday, November the 6th. And, of course, brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations. Get ready for winter driving. Better stop in and see them today. Along with some of our great advertisers, including Western Way Services, always at your disposal. Call 734-6969. Right now, without anything else, let's go right to the phone line and have our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Well, good morning, sir.
Hey, go ahead with it.
Yes, sir. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Attaboy. Attaboy. Hang a gold star on the wall. Right now, let's go to the weather forecast, and it's brought to you by K&R Rental at 256 South, 300 west of Heyburn. And the number to call over to Roger and the crew, 678-3122. My goodness, the best of rental on the best of tools and equipment. And I'll tell you what, if you're finishing a construction project and you don't know what you need, you don't know maybe the best tools for the job, stop over and talk to them. Absolutely, they'll be more than happy to give you the information about the available tools and equipment to help you with your job. K&R Rental, 256 South, 300 west of Heyburn, 678-3122. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
It's going to feel a little bit like winter for today. Here is your weather forecast on this Monday for Zeb at the Ranch. We are expecting some scattered rain showers, possible snow showers throughout the morning. That's supposed to be dissipating after 11 o'clock. After that, partly sunny skies for this afternoon, high of 41 tonight. Clear, patchy, freezing fog is expected with a low right near 18. For tomorrow, that patchy, freezing fog in the morning going to be lifted by mostly sunny skies, high of 40. Mostly clear for tomorrow night with a low of 17. And for Wednesday, looks like sunny skies and a high of 47. Well, that is your Monday weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Oh, my goodness sakes. Thank you, Gina. Thank you, thank you, thank you. What a great job she does on our weather, brought to you by K&R Rental. Hello, Roger and the crew over there at 256 South, 300 west of Heyburn. And they're open 7 to 5:30 Monday through Friday, Saturday 7 to 2, 678-3122. We have got a really busy day today, and when we do the Pledge of Allegiance, I really want you folks to get involved and stay involved. There's a bunch of kooks and crackpots around the country right now that want to stop the pledge, and they want to stop it in the schools, they want to stop it on radio stations, etc. I say this with a chuckle because I would really like to have one of those kooks and crackpots try to stop me from opening my program with a Pledge of Allegiance. That would be the highlight of my day. Go ahead. Just try. Just try. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Don't forget our friends at Daryl's Cleaners. Hello, Kevin and Cindy and the whole crew. I mean, have you been hunting already? Or are you still going hunting and you haven't cleaned your sleeping bag? Oh, my, all the Cheetos and everything else still in there. Well, they can clean them. And I urge you, when you get home from a hunting trip, take your stuff in there and let them clean it so it's ready for next season. Absolutely. And they can waterproof tents and also waterproof clothing. All your clothing you take in there for dry cleaning, it'll come back looking like brand spanking new. The best in the treatment of your clothes, Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. You stop in and see those really good folks today. The best. Absolutely. Oh, and real quick before I start taking some of your phone calls, don't forget the best of anything they do, and that's with heating, electrical, cooling, whatever, Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Number to call, 678-0459. They're there early in the morning at 7:30 till 5 Monday through Friday. And don't forget, with the cooler, and I'm just going to say colder days on the way, be sure and make sure your furnace is working efficiently. Get the furnace air filters. My mind went blank for a minute. What? Furnace air filters from Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. A couple of news stories that I wanted to comment on quickly this morning and not spend a lot of time on. You probably heard about Bowe Bergdahl and the total disrespect for our military and our soldiers from this judge. Not giving Bergdahl any jail time whatsoever. He's basically a free guy. He is basically a free man and will have to pay a mere pittance back to the Army. But he is as free as the sparrow sitting on the limb outside my office. And I listened to General Ralph Peters this morning on Early Morning TV, and he is 1,000% right. The precedence now has been set by this stupid left-wing judge by giving Bergdahl his freedom and no paying back to the military or the United States for being a traitor. And what about the next time? What about the next time when a soldier decides to take a hike and leave his post and go to the enemy and put his fellow soldiers in jeopardy and in harm's way looking for him? Oh, yeah, you can see it coming. The card's going to be played. Oh, well, Bergdahl got away with it. Why can't I? The trend has been set. And this judge that made that decision should never sit on the bench again, ever. A traitor to this country, a traitor to you and I, is walking free. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. By the way, Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley. What a great place to go eat. I urge you to go eat there. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, anytime, all the time. And nice people that really care. And, of course, the very best of menu choices. Wow. It's the home of Zeb's Lunch Bunch. And, by the way, we're going to have Lunch Bunch on the 16th of November. Write that on your calendar. Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley, and also 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. They are America's diner, Denny's Restaurants. You stop in and see them today. Oh, and also, by the way, I want to say a big shout-out to a place for senior living, and I'm talking about Palmerell Place. And they're located at 1301 Bennett Street in Burley. And I took the tour of this place so I would know a lot more about the facility and what's offered. It is a very nice place. If you're a senior living alone at home, and boy, the hazards are there for isolation and safety hazards, injuries, and not taking care of yourself with the best of nutrition, and maybe even missing your medication, why don't you check out a Pomerelle place? A place for senior living at 1301 Bennett Street in Burley. Number to call, 677-8212. Very nice people. All right, your calls are appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I'm going to kind of skim down through some of these news stories this morning. We got a whole bunch to go through. Terrible. Absolutely, it's so despicable. Church shooting in Texas. 26 people killed. 26 people killed while inside at the church service, including a family of 8. And my heart breaks for these people. And believe me, they're in my prayers. A deranged coward went in there that had been arrested on physical abuse and domestic abuse before. And he went in the church and shot all these people and eventually ran out the door and allegedly killed himself down the road in his vehicle. In a church. A church. I was at church yesterday. And you go to a church to worship and thank God for your blessings and be with other congregate members of your faith. And then this vermin comes in there and shoots 26 people. Actually, it was worse than that. Killed 26 and injured many more. Are we going to have to start putting security at the doors of our churches? I think we are. Or once the service starts, are we going to have to lock the doors and basically, like I said, have the security at the doors from that point on? I don't know. Calls are welcome. 436, 2244. 1-866-927-4587. You know, I've been talking about these folks. I had a call last week on Friday, I think it was, and a person said, "What's the name of that septic service company that you talk about?" I said, "Dino's Septic Service in Rupert." "Oh, yeah, that's the one." And I said, "They do the job that we don't want to do." He goes, "Oh, boy, yeah, I got to get a hold of him." So whether he did or not, I don't know, but I gave him the name, I gave him the number. Dino's Septic Service in Rupert, 436-6526, or in Burley, 678-1638. I mean, they're there to help you. Fast, fair, friendly service. Pumping out those septic tanks and sewer and sink drain lines cleaned and water and sewer lines installed. I mean, they're doing the job you don't want to do. I don't want to do it, but they do it, and they are really good people to work with. Dino's Septic Service in Rupert, and they got that big truck that has a sign on the side, "Smells Cargo on the way." Dino's Septic Service, really good people. We've got a lot of politicians running for office. Tomorrow is Election Day, as you may and you should be aware. And I want to also mention to you that Steve Ormond is running for the mayorship of Burley. And he's a man that has lived in the Burley area with his family for over 30 years. Very experienced leader, manager, and commercial loan officer in the banking industry, and very active in the community, like a member of the Burley Lions Club for over 30 years. And he knows the city of Burley is growing. He knows that he has the skills with budgeting and all the other leadership skills to be a good mayor for the city of Burley. So remember, tomorrow, vote for Steve Ormond for mayor of Burley, paid for by Steve Ormond for mayor. Also running for a city council seat is John Anderson, and John's running for a 4-year term on the city council. John's main goal is to keep Burley a great place to live and raise a family, and he's really sincere about that, and watch your vote tomorrow on November 7th. And he was the Burley mayor for 8 years, and he's concerned about the city infrastructure and the growth of this area, and he would appreciate your vote tomorrow. John Anderson for city council, paid for by John Anderson for Burley City Council. All right, my goodness, it's wake-up call. Everybody give me a jingle, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Wow. Have you been listening to the news the last 5-6 days regarding Donna Brazile from the Democratic National Party? She wrote a brand new book, and when you open it up, you can just see the pages sizzle. She is burning with a lot of contempt for the Democrats, a lot of contempt for the leadership, if you want to call it that, and she is really blowing the whistle on, Bill and Hillary. Woo! A lot of things going to happen there. Hey, caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yep, they're starting to devour themselves.
Ooh, and pass the salad dressing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's a sad day in America when there's a party that is that crooked and that evil.
Okay, now, I'm just going to stop you there because you are a very dear friend, and you and I, we are on the same avenue as far as some of these topics are concerned. But this is a great lesson right now that better be listened to and practiced by the Republicans not to fall in the same rut that the Clintons have led the Democratic Party into.
Exactly. That's exactly true. I mean, you learn from other people's mistakes because you never live long enough to make them all yourself.
Oh, yeah. That's right. I'm trying, though.
Well, they say a wise old man made lots of mistakes when he was younger.
I'll tell you what, when you look back, and you're not as long in the tooth as I am, you're quite a bit younger than I am, aren't you?
About, I'll be 66 next month.
Oh, you're just a shadow behind me. But, you know, you look back at what you've done in your life, and I'm going to just come right out and say I've done a lot of things I wished I would not have done, that I should have used a lot more better judgment, and I wouldn't have had the pitfalls or the pratfalls that I had. But, you know, that's life. But you learn from the mistakes and you go forward. And the Democrats did not seem to learn from their absolutely childish mistakes.
No, they didn't. And they kept making them and kept making them. Now it's blown up in their face. Just like when you're raising a child, when he's young, you let him make little mistakes. Let him learn from them. This way they know how to deal with something when it goes bad. If you keep covering up all their mistakes, like these athletes, these football players, where you coddle them and take care of every one of their pitfalls, and they don't have to be responsible for anything, this is what you get.
You know, stop there again, Doug, because I'm not watching NFL football. And the great Vin Scully, the voice of the Dodgers for like decades and decades and decades in pro baseball, said, and he was quite an announcer in all sports, so I really respect Vin Scully. He said yesterday he is not ever again in his lifetime ever going to watch another NFL game because of their absolute disdain and disrespect for our country and our flag. And he's right. Yesterday there were just numerous athletes that either took a knee or raised their black fist against the national anthem. I have no use for them. I will not watch them. I will not support them. And I hope their ticket sales go through the toilet.
Well, they are, is what I'm seeing. I'm seeing some pictures of some football stadiums where they're only about 50% full.
Oh, I switched through the dial yesterday. I'm going to admit it. I watched a little bit of it because I wanted to see what the stands were like. The Miami and all of a sudden the Raider game. Miami Raider game, if the cameras are telling the story, but the networks are backing off on the wide panorama shots, and they had a bunch of tickets that were not sold.
Exactly. And what would be the best thing to do if you're a football fan and you've got tickets to a game is to go to the game and all these fans at the national anthem do what our vice president did. When they didn't stand up, everybody just leave the game right there.
I do not understand
A statement that the NFL could not overlook.
I do not understand, Doug, why the NFL, with very poor leadership with Roger Goodell, very poor, very amateur leadership, has not nipped this in the bud a long time ago and made an edict that that's it, boys. You've had your moment of glory, so to speak, and that's it. We're going to play by our rules now. According to what I've heard, now I can't verify this, maybe you can, but I think the Dallas Cowboys and Jerry Jones, Jerry just told his team, you take a knee, you're out of here. And they have already, according to some of the reports I've got, let 3 players go.
That's what I've heard too. And then that Houston Texans owner.
Yeah.
Where he said we can't let the prisoners run the inmate, and then he apologized for it.
Oh,
loney.
Biggest mistake. Biggest mistake that he could have ever made. You make a statement, and he was right in his, maybe some people didn't like the verbiage, but I'm going to tell you something. I would have said the same thing. But you never, ever apologize for something that is factually correct. And he did, and he lowered himself to the point where now they're mocking him.
Exactly true. Like me at this business, if I was to let the employees badmouth my customers and disrespect them, I wouldn't have any customers.
There you go.
That's what's happening in the NFL.
Absolutely. Doug, always good to have you.
Come back to bite them in the bottom line.
Well, and I hope so. I mean, I have always been an advocate and a fan of the NFL. I really was, because I know a lot of these guys from the past, all the Green Bay Packers and a lot of the Chicago Bears and many of the Vikings, etc. I mean, I grew up with them. I know them. I know them on a first-name basis. I've had players like Jerry Kramer, the great from Idaho, that played right guard for the Packers. I've had him on my program many times. I am done with them because of this new twist of where they think they're better than anyone and they're condemning America.
Yeah, and I made mention to my wife this morning, she agreed with me, that a lot of these owners are on the liberal, lean left. You know, they've got to, for their attitudes and their statements. But it's really funny. They've made millions in a capitalist society.
Yeah.
But they're anti-capitalist.
It's a crazy world out there, but I'll tell you something, Doug. They've lost my respect, and they've lost my support. I'm done with them. And I really say...
game all year.
I say kudos to Vin Scully. Kudos to Vin Scully for having the backbone to come out and say that. I got to run. I'm late. Thank you.
Hey, okay, that's an oxymoron, but go after it, buddy.
Okay. Barry Equipment and Rental, my goodness sake, sales, service, and parts. And, of course, South Lincoln and Jerome, 159 West Highway 30 in Burley, and Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls. Now, Juan and the crew at the Burley location, they've got all the Bobcats over there. Oh, my goodness, have they got a bunch of Bobcats. All the excavators in all shapes and sizes, and believe me, for buying or renting. And you don't know how to run one? Don't worry about it. They've got a big sandbox out behind the office, and they can teach you. Absolutely, they've got all the equipment to get the job done right. Retail equipment rentals and retail equipment sales, I'm telling you, it's all there at Barry Equipment and Rental. South Lincoln and Jerome, Addison Avenue West in Twin, and as I have stated... Addison Avenue West in Twin, 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. I dropped the paper. So be sure and stop in and see them today. Barry Equipment and Rental. Really good folks. And by the way, too, we're running a few minutes behind, but your calls are welcome and appreciated. Come on, give me a call. I want to remind you about Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. It's one of those mornings where I can't hang on to anything. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. The number to call, 678-1191. Yeah, the kids might have got dinged up playing on the playground, or maybe you took a spill in the driveway. Hey, that ice yesterday morning, we were on our way to church and we went out the door, and whoop, almost, it was closed. Look out, be careful. And if you're recuperating from a surgery or an accident, they can help get back to feeling yourself. That's right, they can help you get back to being you. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. Number to call, and I urge you to call. They've got the best of physical therapists serving you, 678-1191. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. Whoa, they're nice people. Really good people. All right, calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. How would you like to win a dozen cookies? You would? Well, I'm ineligible, but if you get sugar cookies, share them with me, okay? Sophie's Chatterbox. We're going to give away a dozen cookies right now. And all you have to do is call with the right answer, and you'll be the winner. Sophie's Chatterbox at 530 E Street in Rupert. Oh, what a restaurant. Ooh, great food. Along with a great bakery. I mean, cookies, pies, and homemade breads. Oh, it's delicious. Here is the question for the day. First-time winners only. If you've won in the past, come on. Let's not hog everything. Let's leave it for our other friends. On the TV show, The Real McCoys, what was the name, the character name of Walter Brennan? On the TV show, The Real McCoys, what was the character name of Walter Brennan? What did they call him on the TV show? First person to call, 436-2244 or 1-866-927-4587 with the right answer, and you'll win a delicious dozen cookies from Sophie's Chatterbox. On the TV show, The Real McCoys, what was the character name of Walter Brennan? Give me a call quickly, come on, and I'll let you win a dozen cookies from Sophie's Chatterbox. Really good. Well, I'm waiting for your call. What was the character name of Walter Brennan on the TV show The Real McCoys? Give me a call on that real quick, 436-2244. By the way, Bryce Morgan is running for Burley City Council, and he wants your vote tomorrow on November 7th. He brings a lot of knowledge about finances and accountability to the table, and he wants to serve you. Graduate of Burley High School, and then has a master's degree in business administration and a bachelor's degree in accounting, and he's been in the transportation industry for the last 14 years. A fiscal conservative, and he wants your vote tomorrow. Bryce Morgan for Burley City Council. Vote tomorrow, Tuesday, November 7th, paid for by Bryce Morgan for City Council. What? Nobody knows the answer to that? That was one of the easiest ones I've ever asked. What was the character name of Walter Brennan on The Real McCoys? Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. They called him Grandpa, but his name was Amos McCoy.
That's right. What's your name?
This is Bob West.
Bob West. Where are you from, Bob?
I live here in Paul.
Well, you call Sophie's and tell them when you're going to be in there for your cookies, and if you get sugar cookies, plain sugar cookies, the deal is you got to share 1 or 2 or 6 or 7 with me.
Okay.
All right, Bob. Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
You bet. Thank you very much. Grandpa Amos McCoy was the name of Walter Brennan in The Real McCoys. You know, he was one of the great character actors, and he started many years before that TV series in some John Wayne movies. And he was the head cook on the movie Red River with John Wayne. And I just absolutely think a lot of Walter Brennan. And then going back even further, he was on a lot of the Saturday morning serials, Western serials. And so Walter Brennan, no stranger to getting on a horse, saddling a horse, and riding away. And then he was also in an adaptation of Wyatt Earp and the Gunfight at the OK Corral. And for the life of me, not the latest one, but one back in the 40s and 50s, he played the head of the patriarch of the Clanton family down there in Arizona. But quite an actor and a really, really nice guy, Walter Brennan. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Don't forget Ramsey Heating and Electric Analytics. They can make you feel good on the inside of your home on these chilly days that are coming. That's right. Check out a Lennox home comfort system, and you might be able to get up to a $1,600 rebate from Lennox. And, of course, our friends Ramsey Heating and Electric at 678-0459. You call them today. Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox, saving you money. All right, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I absolutely am shocked and taken aback as to what I saw last week on the news. I think it was at Friday at noon I saw this, that the so-called rapper, and it's so childish with his name and everything, Snoop Dogg. Yeah, you've seen this creep. Snoop Dogg. Well, he's a rapper, but I'd put a C in front of it, if you get my drift. But he came out with a new album. And the cover of his album is absolutely despicable. Here's what it is. It shows a dead body lying on top of a casket with bare feet and a tag on the toe that says Trump. I saw that, and I just don't know what to think about these people. There is no class. There is no professionalism. There's nothing on the left. How could he possibly design that kind of an album cover showing a dead body on a casket with the toe and the sign on the toe that says Trump? Now just imagine for a moment, please, and help me. Give me a call on this. Just imagine for a moment if anyone with anything had duplicated and or done something similar to Obama. Think about that. Can you imagine the hell that would have broke loose if anyone would have done that with a depiction of Obama laying on a casket, dead, with a tag to its toe that said Obama? It wouldn't fly. That plane's not getting off the ground. But the left today, the filthiness and the sleaze and the absolute gutter attitude against this president. And you wonder how far the left can go to be submerged in the sewage. Well, they did something else this last couple of days that just absolutely was despicable. Sarah Huckabee Sanders is the White House spokesman for the Trump administration. And quite frankly, I think she's doing a tremendous job. She looks at the reporters, listens to their questions, and if they get snide or they start belittling or they start running over the same ground, whap, she wakes them up and lets them know that that's not the way the press conference is going to fly. She gives great information out, and she doesn't sit there and hem and haw. Well, the left with a Los Angeles Times story this last couple of days. They came out, and instead of making ridicule of her for her politics, they belittled her because of who and what she is. They absolutely went after her looks. They absolutely went after her body build. And they just started tearing her apart. And the left has no morality whatsoever. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. You know, this Snoop Dogg deal you're talking about, it just goes to prove what I've always said. When you have a lot of money, it must make you a hell of a lot smarter, because this guy, because he's got a lot of money, is in the toilet, just like you said.
Whether it's Hollywood or whether it's these so-called cheap nickel and dime entertainers that unfortunately have made a lot of money with crap, that's what it is. I'm going to use the word in front of the RAP for rap, put a C in front of it. I just can't imagine what would have happened, my dear friend, if someone had done that to Obama.
Oh, HELL would have broke loose.
Yeah.
And I mean, big time. But you know, on this Sarah Huckabee Sanders, that gal is positively sharp. You can ask my wife. I've said that almost every time I've watched her on TV. She handles herself so well. You know, she's not a beauty queen, but she is sharp.
Yeah, well, wait a minute. Whoa. You said something that really needs to be elaborated on. You said, quote, she's not a beauty queen. What difference does it make on looks? I mean, you can have the ugliest guy standing up there with warts all over his face, and maybe he's bald-headed and he's got scraggly hair and glasses that are thick enough for the bottom of Coke bottles, and the media probably will not say anything about his looks. And I find it appalling that this lady would be attacked on her looks. I think it's despicable because she's doing a great job.
I think she's cute myself, and I think she's more focused on her job than anybody I've ever seen in that position. She is just well informed, and under pressure she knows how to handle herself.
I agree with that. But, you know, they'll go to any low level to criticize anybody on the right. But you know what? Some of the things they said in that article, I've got the article here, and I'm not even going to read it because I don't want to put that out on my program. How they got away with this, and their editor in charge of the LA Times let this slide through, personally, that just shows how cheap and slovenly and sleazy many newspapers are.
I tell you what, the news is no longer news, it's trash.
Yeah.
And when they put something on there, even like Fox, they keep dwelling on these little things like the shooting in Texas, which is a very disastrous thing. But it happened, and we don't need to know every gritty detail of it. Let's go on to what really is happening in the world.
Well, it is a world happening, though. I disagree with you on that. I think it shows a vindictiveness against Christianity. I think it shows a lack of respect for human life. I disagree with you on that, Keith. I think it's a story that absolutely needs to be told. And I'll tell you why. Because if you're not safe in your churches, you're not safe anywhere. And I think it's a story that absolutely should make us all think about the safety and security for our families.
I agree to that, Zeb. But this hammering and hammering and hammering on it is, you know, there are just other things in this world that's happening besides that. I don't mean to not focus on that. That would be cruel and mean.
Yeah.
But it's just not, you know, you turn on the TV and it's just the same thing day after day after day. They harp on that until something else happens, and then they wear it into the ground.
All right, Keith, I appreciate your viewpoint. I've got another caller waiting, so thank you very much, my dear friend. Thank you.
You have a
all right, sir. Hey, caller, I want you to stand by. I'm not putting you off. I want to get you on the air, so bear with me just a minute. I want to remind everybody that Ralph Carlson is a candidate for the Burley City Council, and he absolutely would like to have your vote tomorrow. He says that he has a great understanding of business, and he wants to help Burley grow as a community. And he knows they have a lot of challenges ahead, like zoning restrictions and utilities and street and recreational facilities and the schools. He wants to be a part of solving any problem, and that's, of course, Ralph Carlson, candidate for the Burley City Council, and he wants your vote tomorrow on November 7th. Don't forget, paid for by Ralph Carlson for Burley City Council. Now, here's what I'm going to do, caller. I'm going to do a quick weather forecast. Sit there and just have another sip of hot cocoa or coffee or whatever. I'll be right with you. I value your call, so stand by. I'm a little bit late. And the weather brought to you by Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids with Dr. Christine Pickup, the doctor of audiology. My goodness, she knows all about sound and hearing. I urge you to call 312-0957 and set up an appointment. This lady is sharp, and she wants to help you hear better again. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Right now, here's Jeannie.
It's going to feel a little bit like winter for today. Here is your weather forecast on this Monday for Zeb at the Ranch. We are expecting some scattered rain showers, possible snow showers throughout the morning. That's supposed to be dissipating after 11 o'clock. After that, partly sunny skies for this afternoon, high of 41 tonight. Clear, patchy, freezing fog is expected with a low right near 18. For tomorrow, that patchy, freezing fog in the morning going to be lifted by mostly sunny skies, high of 40. Mostly clear for tomorrow night with a low of 17. And for Wednesday, looks like sunny skies and a high of 47. Well, that is your Monday weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Okay, Zeb, let's say the name right for a change, as Wheels is sitting over there laughing and giggling. Gina, thank you for the weather. It all came out wrong. Anyway, don't forget Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids and Dr. Christine Pickup. Oh, they are good. Call for a hearing screening today, 312-0957. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Whew. Caller, good morning. Thank you for your patience. God bless you. Thanks.
You know, I've known Christine Pickup for, I don't know, man, maybe 20 years or maybe 15. And I've been doing business with them, her and her husband, for years. And she's the sweetest lady. I mean, you know, she's always the same. And she's, you know, if you like somebody and they offer you a service or a product that's, you know, quality and you know, it's just such a nice combination. And I wasn't even going to say this, but, you know, every time I hear the commercial, I think about how nice she really is.
Oh, that's nice of you to say. Well, now, what in the world, what's bothering you this morning that we need to kind of lay out on the rug and take a look at it?
Well, you were talking, you know, I didn't quite know that they had attacked Sarah Huckabee Sanders. I'm like Keith. I think she's kind of cute. And, but the thing of it is, you know, she's so sure of herself, and she's very sharp on her feet. And, you know, if I had somebody defending me, I would want her to do it.
Yep.
And, you know, this is the thing. We have a responsibility as citizens to maintain what we've been given. You know, if I was lucky enough to have been given a vehicle and I was so thoughtless that I just destroyed it in short order because I didn't care, then it would hurt the person who gave it to me, but then I would be out of luck.
Yep.
And you see, as a country, we, as good men, all it takes for evil to flourish is for good men to do nothing. And you see, we have got to maintain our country. And there is no excuse, none. There isn't one good excuse for any kind of lax activity, waiting for somebody to come and do your job for you. You know, I'm driving around out here this morning, just like you. You got up at 4. I didn't get up at 4. But I'm out here running around trying to maintain what I have created, and I want to be grateful for it. But I also know this. If I don't get off my behind, nothing will get done. and I will end up with whatever the heck I end up with because of my lacked attitude.
Hey, let me ask you a favor. Tomorrow morning on the first hour, I'm going to be talking about a 4-letter word, hate. And I want to see if you agree with me or not. So you doggone sure better call in and give yourself time to express your opinion, okay?
I will.
All right, buddy.
Listen.
All right.
Some days there's times when you don't really have time to call because you're just running, just like everybody else around here.
All right, Randy. Thanks for your call, buddy. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
All right. Caller number 2, you're on the air. Go for it. Thank you.
Good morning, Zeb. You know, this Texas shooting is a terrible, 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 horrible thing. And it really upsets me to hear it. But, you know, the more I listen to the news nowadays, the more I am convinced it's not the Muslims, it's not ISIS that's the most dangerous thing in this country. I think it's the Democratic Party. I think if anything's going to destroy our country, destroy our way of life, it's going to be the Democratic Party. I think there are probably more hate among them people than of anything on this earth that I know of.
You know, Jerry, your point is an excellent point this morning that needs to be looked at and exacerbated a little bit, because I'll tell you what, you bring up a kind of the title of the paper, if you will, Democratic Party on the top of the page, and then they incorporate a lot of the hate and a lot of the violence and a lot of the vile in our society, whether it's ISIS, whether it's the homosexual movement, also the transgender movement. I think you've really touched on something here, is that under their headline, all these other fanatics are employed for the benefit of using their left-wing propaganda. I think you're right.
Well, you know, I hate to call in and say something like that, but the more I listen to the news and the more I read and the more I see, I'm just firmly beginning to believe that if there's anything in this world that is horrible from the core, it is the Democratic Party. It's just wrong.
Jerry, I appreciate...
They don't believe in God. They don't believe in good ideals. They want to corrupt our society. And it just upsets me to no end.
I respect your call as always, my dear friend. Thank you. I got another call waiting, and I got 2 commercials in less than 4 minutes. Jerry, God bless you. Thank you so much.
You bet. You have a wonderful day, and may the Lord bless you and all them little children out there listening to the station.
All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And caller number 2, don't go away. I'll be right with you, I promise. I just want to remind everybody again, John Anderson running for the Burley City Council, the 4-year seat. And as I mentioned just a little bit ago, his main goal is to keep Burley a great place to live and raise a family with the growth and all the job opportunities, education. He was a Burley mayor for 8 years. And believe me, he is very concerned and wants to help with the city of Burley, with the infrastructure, and about charging citizens a fair rate. Well, I'll tell you what, he wants your vote tomorrow. John Anderson for Burley City Council, a 4-year seat, paid for by John Anderson for the Burley City Council. Caller, good morning. Thank you. You're on the air. I've got 3 minutes.
Yeah, good morning, Zeb. Well, take it one step further. It's the mainstream media, the New York Times, particularly leading the Democrats. The Democrats just follow the New York Times. The New York Times, Washington Post have been leading this drive to destroy this country for decades. The New York Times, I have a book called All the News It Fits. It was a war correspondent that wrote the book, 1969, about how the New York Times led the effort, the anti-American effort in Vietnam, and how they've been doing this for a long, long time. And so the danger is that the mainstream media has become so radicalized, so steeped in socialism and Marxism. It's a real danger, and the Democrats just follow in line with that situation. And I feel our prayers go out to those people that were shot and killed and those that are still wounded there in Texas. But, you know, taking away all the guns, that's going to be the next hue and cry, you know, Zeb, and It's just not going to go over with people that want to defend themselves.
No, I will say this, Adrian, let me make a point. Let me make a point here real quick because I'm almost out of time, and give me a short response. I will, if the law is passed that all the guns have to be confiscated, I will break the law because I am not going to let my family, myself, or anything I own be taken over by criminals and lawlessness. I'm just not going to adhere to that kind of a law for a gun confiscation in this country. I want the right to protect myself, and I will. Quickly, short answer.
Well, when guns are outlawed, only outlaws in and out of government will have guns, and then we'll be defenseless. This is what's happened. Why are all these refugees coming into this country and so forth, and have for decades, is because they've been disarmed. And every country that's given up their guns have become enslaved, and that's the bottom line. Look what's happening in Venezuela, China, Russia, you name the country, and those people have no real freedom because they have no guns.
Absolutely. Good answer. I got to run. Thank you so much, Adrian. Appreciate it. Right now, I want to remind you, all 7 of your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers are reminding you better get ready for winter driving. The other day, boy, I mean, it was winter, wasn't it? Hey, I tell you what, they got a lot of great tires, different tread designs that are designed to get you through the muck, the ice, the snow, and everything. I'll tell you, like the Terramax HT. I'm telling you, this is a great light truck tire and SUV tire, low-cost, all-season design. You better check it out today. Or for the cars, you better check out the Himalaya WS2. And that's a great winter traction tire for your cars. All you've got to do is get into your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Any one of the locations. Lane in Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poland in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. Doing the right thing matters, and that's serving you. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Got to run to the news. We'll be back with Frosty Woolridge at 9:06. Wheels, old buddy, take it away. Good morning. Good morning, Zeb at the Ranch, and welcome to Zeb at the Ranch for a Monday with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you, and of course they've got everything ready for wintertime driving. You better stop in and see them today, along with some of our great advertisers like Western Way Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Way Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Way Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Way Services, always at your disposal. I urge you to get a hold of them today. Get on the route service. Really good folks that care about getting rid of your garbage. That's right. Always at your disposal. Call, get on the route service today. 734-6969, Western Way Services. By the way, you want to stay cool and comfy in the summertime and warm like a bed bug and a rug in the wintertime. Well, I'll tell you what, check out the Lennox Home Comfort Systems through Ramsey Heating and Electric. You can get up to a $1,600 rebate on a new Lennox Home Comfort System. Check it out today. Call them at 678-0459. Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox, saving you money. Don't forget to our dear friends at Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert. Joel Heward, family, staff, serving you. You know, they really, really care, and they can travel to the rural towns and the churches to help you with all the arrangements when there's the passing of a loved one. Always, always upholding the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. I urge you to give them a call and find out the information you and all of us need. Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert. The number to call, 436-5636, Hanson Mortuary.
Excuse me, I've got that frog back in my throat again. And it's Monday, and I'm really blessed to have with me my dear friend from Golden, Colorado, Frosty Woolridge. Good morning, sir.
Well, and good morning to you, Zeb. All the best on this Monday morning. Certainly there are the similar terrorist attacks going on it's almost like a weekly basis these days. It's certainly a monthly basis, and my heart goes out to all of those who faced such terror down there in Texas just yesterday. And boy, it takes my breath away, and I really don't know. I'm almost beyond words, and just emotionally stunned, spiritually stunned, physically stunned, and like I say, my heart goes out to all those who are facing the consequences of what happened.
You know, I agree with you, Frosty, and last hour I had a very, very dear friend call in and give his analogy, if you will, of what's going on in this country, and he really didn't blame ISIS. He didn't blame the Muslim Jihad. He didn't blame other certain groups for what's going on in this country, but what he did say is that he says the Democratic Party is utilizing all these problems to tear apart this country even further. And I think he made a very good point.
There's no question that what's going on right now, and I've written a new column as you received it.
Right.
You actually get the lead copy on those columns. Again, I call it extreme multiculturalism, and it means American culture must be degraded, demoted, and decayed to the point of non-existence in favor of hundreds of other foreign cultures and languages. It means further fragmentation and fracturing of the American way of life. But it also, it also fractures civility and a sense of belonging in your own country. Now, I don't know this character who just shot up 26 people and then wounded another 27 or 8 or whatever it was, but obviously he was at a loss as far as community. He was at a loss as far as purpose, certainly civility, and he was lost somewhere in that mix. And as our society continues on this path, this multicultural path, this parallel society path, unfortunately you're going to find more and more individuals and or groups who are expressing themselves violently. And at this point in time, as I've said in the past, if we keep fracturing ourselves culturally, then you will find so many displaced people out there that some of them are going to lash out in a violent way. And, of course, some of them are trained to lash out in a violent way, as you saw last week in Manhattan.
Yeah.
Again, it's getting to be pretty complex the more that we make ourselves a more complex and multicultural society. And I don't know, it's almost like, what do you say to that, Zeb? I mean, what do you say?
Well, I'm going to tell you this much. Our own area right here, and Wheels, watch the feedback just a little bit, please, on the line. Our own area right here in Twin Falls, a city that you know you've traveled through, etc. Their city council, the college, the newspaper, they're all into this diversity. They're all into these different cultures. They're all into having the refugees come into this area. My question is, why? Why do we want to fragmentize the United States culture, the attitude, the atmosphere, the personality of the various areas of the United States, being it a Western culture or being it a Northeastern culture or whatever? Why do we want to diversify and bring all these people in that don't want to assimilate? They want to bring in their culture, and we're looking at a fragmentation that can never be healed. I'm against it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm a bigot. Go ahead and tell me I am.
Well, again, those almost arbitrary name-calling people that they sit there and they throw these names out And the fact is, I would rather call you a man of common sense, a man of rational thinking, and a man of historical perspective. The fact is, multiculturalism doesn't work. You cannot degrade or demote or decay a host country's culture and then hope to think it's going to mesh with 100 other different cultures.
That's right.
And I've stated this many, many times. Those people that are pushing for all of this multiculturalism are pushing for the fragmentation and the fracturing and literally the breakup of the United States of America. And if they don't succeed on a national level, which, as you can see, of all the hot points that are happening right now, and that includes Las Vegas, that certainly includes Manhattan, that includes 9/11, that includes Fort Hood, Garland, Texas. You've got San Bernardino. I mean, Ohio State University, Fort Lauderdale. I mean, I can go right down the list, Zeb. You're seeing the result of this massive infusion of all these different cultures, all these different worldviews, all of these different languages. All of this absolutely does not go well together. It doesn't mix together. It doesn't become a solution. It becomes a fragment and a fracture of the center of our own culture. And then you think that it's going to be replaced with something that's working, and the answer is it's not working. And again, I continue to call, and I just said we need to stop all diversity and chain immigration into this country. We need to stop all immigration into this country. I'm hoping that every person listening, and I was on a big 3-hour radio on Saturday on the East Coast, and everybody, I said, we need to stop mass immigration. We're not going to survive it. And boy, oh boy, did they came, the last hour was people calling in, and they agreed 100%. In New York City said that it's no longer an American city, and Boston is being absolutely shredded of American culture, and Baltimore is becoming just literally a violence zone because it's becoming so multiculturalized. And if you look at places like Washington, D.C., outside of the main loop there, it's almost like a third world. Because these people that are coming here have no skills, they have no ability to work, they're all on welfare. Personally, I think welfare is a new form of slavery for the 21st century, because what it does is it puts so many people completely unaccountable to themselves, completely irresponsible for their own actions, and so they simply sit there and they're on the dole, they're sitting there taking the handouts, and their lives don't go anywhere. So we have, and we are creating one heck of an extreme multicultural mess in this country, and if we don't stop it, we're simply going to further it, and it's going to consume us on so many levels. And even though all those people there in Twin Falls and all those college, I call them they're embarrassing to intelligence, if you will, because they're so high idealistic because it never touches them until it touches them. But it's going to touch them. Chicago will come to Twin Falls at some point with enough of these immigrants that are coming from all of these places that have no ability to function in a first world country like this. And they're not going to be able to avoid that at some point.
I was reading your article, and I read all your articles, and I hope you read my blogs that I send every week, but I will say this. That you're tying in former Colorado Governor Richard Lamb and the 8 Ways to Destroy America speech that he gave over, 14, 15 years ago. There was one line in there that I want to repeat, and then I want you to elaborate on it. He said, diverse people worldwide are mostly engaged in hating each other. That is, when they are not killing each other. A diverse, peaceful, or stable society is against most historical precedent. Those are some dynamic words right there that somebody ought to start paying attention to.
As a matter of fact, you're correct. Now, for those of you who have read the book, Immigration's Unarmed Invasion, deadly consequences. I wrote that book exactly a year later based on that 8-point speech that he gave me permission on how to destroy America. And there are 8 points in that speech, and this was his 6th point. My 6th plan for America's downfall would include dual citizenship and promote divided loyalties. I would celebrate diversity over unity. I would stress differences rather than similarities. And then he made that incredible statement, diverse people worldwide are mostly engaged in hating each other, that is, when they're not killing each other. And here it is, 14 years later. We're more into this than ever. Now, most people don't realize it, but we've added about 40 million people. 40 million people. We've got 43 million people that are foreign-born, that weren't even born in this country. And then we've got another 10 to 15 million of those people are their kids. And there's, again, I said 800 languages there in New York. There's 173 different languages here in Denver. Zeb, the perspective is that we are not going to survive this if we don't turn off the spigot that's pouring all of these people into this country that have nothing in common with any of us, have nothing in common with the rest of the other immigrants that are coming into this country, and have nothing in common with a first world country. We're $20 trillion in debt, and we're paying for these people, their apartment buildings, we're paying for their schooling, we're paying for their cars, we're paying for their heat, we're paying for everything, and yet we've got 1.5 million people on any given day in the United States who are homeless. We've got tens of thousands of veterans who are homeless and on the streets and having drug and alcohol problems. None of this makes sense. But guess what? Your 2 senators and your House rep are facilitating this. My 2 senators and my House rep here in Colorado are facilitating this plan to destroy America by multiculturalism and endless immigration. Is it nuts or is it nuts? It's nuts. It's absolutely, insane. It is a recipe for the destruction of the future of our country and of our children's future. And these people there at Twin Falls up in the college that are forcing this, the Jewish charities, the Lutheran charities, the Catholic charities are making all this money by shoving these people down our throats. At some point, all of us are going to pay as all of the conflict starts to consume our cities, just like it is in Chicago right now.
I've got to share this with you. It just came out in our newspaper in the last couple of days. A former Lincoln County prosecutor now practicing law in Twin Falls. His name is Britt Groom. And the only reason I'm mentioning this is because I thought he made an asinine statement in his editorial in the newspaper. I'm going to read it to you, and then I want you to elaborate on it. He said, quote, "It is high time we commit publicly and privately to embracing diversity." That one sentence just absolutely infuriated me. Why? Why? A simple 3-letter word question. Why, Frosty, do we need to embrace and really publicly come out in favor of diversity? I'm not in favor of it. Why should I go along with the bus?
I can guarantee you this. That individual does not live down in the inner city. His kids don't go to an inner city school. And that's the reality of this. All those people that have jobs or money that embrace diversity and multiculturalism don't live in it, don't live with it, don't absolutely get touched by it. They're the ones in the gated communities. They're the ones that literally keep themselves away from it at all costs. I can give you example after example. Here in Colorado, certainly in Denver, in Boulder, Colorado, where you see the SUVs going up to the schools that say embrace diversity and we love multiculturalism on their bumper stickers, are the same people who take their kids to private schools or drive them off to the all-white schools in the Boulder area. It was called schooling white flight. And so it's hypocritical. Men like that who write those ridiculous op-eds, and I've read plenty of them, and they just make my blood boil, are the same ones that never allow themselves or their kids to be in the middle of that. They don't move into the inner city. They don't go down there and have their kids in those schools, and they think that it's going to be okay because as long as it's not in his backyard. I'd love to get a hold of that guy in a debate at any point in time, and as a teacher, as an educator and certainly a man who taught in the inner city for 2 years, I would absolutely debate him under the table. He wouldn't stand a chance against me because I will find out where he lives, where his kids go to school, and he is no more a diversity person than the man in the moon. All he does is write this idealistic balderdash in an editorial in a paper, but he's not touched by the reality of what he writes about.
I have said on this program, and you have too, that if they want to, they being any of the immigrants wanting to come into this country, want to come in here and be a very integral part of our society, working for one main cause, and that's to further the United States of America, be God-fearing, tax-paying contributors to our society, and basically be a melting pot to where we're all the same and we look at the American flag and say the Pledge of Allegiance and stand up for the national anthem, fine. But when I look at diversity with all these different cultures coming in here and not a melting pot, nobody wants to assimilate, my goodness, Frosty, isn't it time that somebody woke up and smelled the coffee and sees the fragmentation of America?
Well, they will at some point. Because when you get, again, I've stated this before, you've got 3.3 million Muslims right now. What happens when we get 20 or 30 or 40 million Muslims? Because that's what we're going to get at some point. And ask Lebanon how they did with that. Anybody been to Lebanon lately? It was once the gem of the Mediterranean. It was called the Switzerland of the Mediterranean. And I know I've said this before, but it's now a war-torn country, all because it immigrated itself to death. Same thing going on. There's two Londons over there in the UK, the British London that's left and the Muslim London that's literally overtaking it. But the same thing's going on in Paris, France, Norway, and all the way all over Europe. And you sit here and you go, how stupid are these leaders? They are stupid. The guy that wrote that piece in the paper, I'll tell you right now, I'd call him an idiot and a stupid intellectual right to his face if I could get a hold of the guy, because he is out of touch with reality. And again, let me say this again, extreme multiculturalism, it means American culture must be degraded, demoted, and decayed to the point of non-existence in favor of hundreds of other foreign cultures and language. It means further fragmentation and fracturing of the American way of life. In other words, all of us, the Americans who live here. And again, numbersusa.org and carryingcapacitynetwork.org and capsweb.org. I hope everyone has joined that. Tell all your friends to join. It's for free. And you can write these letters that are already pre-written and fax them to your senators and House reps and other leaders to stop mass immigration. We've got to stop, as I said in this particular one, chain migration, and we've got to stop the diversity visas because we're not going to survive them, not only from the sociological standpoint, but we're not going to survive them from the sheer numbers. And again, another 100 million immigrants in this country within 30 years. Does anyone listening tonight or today, this morning, think we're going to survive that on any level? And I can give you the answer. No, we are not going to survive it on any level.
Well, I commend you on an excellent piece, and you and I are on the same page on this thing. I wished I had more time, but just give me a short answer on this. The left always plays the bigot card, the hate-monger card, every single time that we argue against all these people coming in, every single time we try to argue against diversity, and they play the low-life toilet flushing of you're a bigot, you're a hate-monger. And that's going to get worse.
Well, I welcome that because my integrity is intact every day of my life, and I will stand shoulder to shoulder with you because I know you to be an integral man, and our integrity and our honesty will speak to the truth and the facts as they are. We are not going to be stopped when it comes to telling what's going on with America. So I'm with you all the way. And common sense and rational thinking are way above bigotry and hate-mongering and all the other stuff that goes with it. So I will stand with you, a man of integrity, and that's absolutely my short answer.
Bless you, my dear friend, back in Golden, Colorado. Frosty Woldridge has been connected with me on this program for many, many years. Thank you, my dear friend. We'll talk to you next Monday. God bless.
God bless you.
Thank you very much. Frosty Woldridge. And sharing my same opinion about what's going on in this country with a complete fragmenting of our societies. What did you say? It's snowing outside? Deanne just came in and said something very nasty. It's snowing outside. Thank you very much. Hey, we got to pay some bills, and then we're going to have our next guest on the air in just a few moments. Don't forget Ark Animal Hospital at 750 21st Street near Connection Credit Union over in Heyburn. Number to call, number to remember for the care and welfare of your livestock and your pets is 678-1177. Ark Animal Hospital is a mixed animal practice, meaning big or small, they love them all, they take care of them all. Absolutely, Dr. Bill and the whole staff, these are really good, caring people that want the best for your animals. Don't forget they have warm hearts for cold noses. Ark Animal Hospital, 678-1177. By the way, too, tomorrow is Election Day, and John Anderson wants your vote for the Burley City Council for a 4-year seat. John's main goal is always to keep Burley a great place to live and raise a family. And believe me, he knows about the city of Burley as he served mayor of Burley for over 8 years. John Anderson. And he's very, very strong supporter of city employees as well as fire and police departments. Don't forget, when you go to the polls tomorrow, to vote for John Anderson for the Burley City Council, a 4-year seat paid for by John Anderson. Also I got it right on time. I am right on time telling you all about Lee's Furniture, Floors, and more. You know what? It's just around the corner. What's around the corner? Well, Thanksgiving and Christmas. Oh, my goodness. It's time to get ready for those holidays. They've got a brand new shipment of floor coverings and carpet and vinyl and luxury vinyl planks, all there. And the people at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and more, oh, man, they are people. They really take care of you. Jeff Bronson and the whole crew at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and more. 459 Overland in Burley. Stop in. Tell them hello. Welcome back. They can help you at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and more. Really good folks. Let's see what else have we got here. Oh, real quick also, I want to remind you about Cameron and Siemens Insurance. Really good people over at Cameron Siemens Insurance, the insurance professionals. They can help you, will help you, your family, and your business with the insurance and the coverage that you need. Life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits. They are really dedicated and responsive to your needs. So remember the number. Give them a call at 436-4424. That number again, 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance. You be sure and give them a call. Make an appointment today at Cameron and Siemens Insurance. We're just about ready to have our guest on the phone with us in just a moment. Stand by, but I also want to remind you, with the snow falling outside here in the valley, that means we're getting a lot of angel dandruff up on the hills. Well, stop into Let's Ride at 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World and check out all the 2018 snowmobiles. Woo, what a selection. And they've got all the four-wheelers, and they've got the side-by-sides. They've got a fantastic accessory department, and to keep you running, the best doggone service department around. All of this at Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. It is definitely where the fun is sold. Right now, let's go to the phone line. And a very interesting story coming up here, and it's with the Pacific Legal Foundation, and we have attorney David Bremer with us on the phone line. Good morning, David. How are you?
Morning. I'm fine.
You know, I got to tell you that I almost chuckled a little bit when I was reading about this Pennsylvania graveyard law, because I got to thinking about it. All the people that live out here in the western United States, or for that matter, anywhere in this country, with our ancestors and all the pioneers and everything, we all could be living on somewhat of a graveyard. What's going on in Pennsylvania?
Well, that's true. In Pennsylvania, of course, a lot of states nowadays they have laws that prohibit backyard burials and all that, but Pennsylvania still doesn't have a law like that. So you have small family plots and burial grounds all over the place there that date back several hundred years, but all the way up to the present day. And, I'm not sure what's going on out there in the township of Scott, but they decided they're going to pass a law to regulate, quote unquote, all cemeteries of any size or nature on anywhere on private property or anywhere else. But part of this regulation was to allow the public to go in and view any burial site that the township finds. And to find these things, the township gave itself the authority to enter on any property to look for the existence of any cemetery. So we're not talking about them trying to regulate things they already know about, like a public cemetery. We're talking about them looking for burial grounds of any sort, and then declaring that these things are open, and the property owner, where a cemetery or a burial ground is located, must make it available for public viewing 7 days a week. So you can have strangers coming on there, thrill seekers, kids, who knows doing what, to look at some stones. And that's what happened to Rosemary Nick, who owns 90 acres out there, and they say she has a few stones on her property.
Okay, now wait a minute. I gotta clarify this. How do they go about finding these graves, and do you actually have the circumstances of maybe some lady's doing the dishes at the kitchen sink, looks out the window, and there's a bunch of guys out there with shovels and hose? I mean, what's going on here?
Yeah, what happened is to find these things, the township gave its code enforcement officer the authority to enter on any property to look for burial grounds, cemeteries. Now, these things are defined. We're talking about a new law here. These things, it's defined in the law that a burial ground could be any. It could be one person buried there. It could be, it could be 100. It could be anything. It could be Uncle Joe that was buried there 50 years ago. It doesn't matter to them. It's really overbroad, and they gave themselves authority to go look for any cemetery, and then once they find something under the terms of this ordinance, this law, it automatically becomes available for public viewing. Now we're talking, again, about cemeteries and burial grounds that have never been open to the public before. Rosemary Nick, who we're talking about here, who has this case against this law, she's never had anybody on her property. She doesn't have a public cemetery. There's nothing on her title. There's no, ancient Indian burial grounds. The town says there's just a few stones that it believes are headstones from somebody buried several hundred years ago.
Oh, my.
And now she's subject to open that up to the public. So she sued them and said, you're taking my property rights. You're putting a trail on my land, and she lives alone, and you can't do this. You certainly can't do it without paying me compensation.
I can't even believe this story. When I saw this, I just did a double take. But we live right here in this area, David, right on the Oregon Trail. And there are numerous occasions and sites of graves all along the Oregon Trail. I mean, my goodness, if this law that's being passed in Pennsylvania would be perceived as something that needs to go on a nationwide basis, I think all of us would be under the scrutiny of people saying, well, we're going to come on your property and we're going to do anything we want because you might be on a burial site. This is ludicrous.
Yes, it's crazy. And let me tell you something. I hope it doesn't go nationwide, but let me tell you a nationwide problem that does exist in this case. So you're a property owner like Mrs. Nick, and you see this law, and you look at the Constitution, and you look at the law, and there's pretty clear law that the government can't put a public trail on your private property, at least not without paying you for it. So you sue. You sue in state court, and the state court tells you, no, I think you should go to, I'm not going to adjudicate it now. It's not, quote-unquote, ripe. So you go to a federal court, which you're typically allowed to do. When you have a constitutional complaint, you can usually either pick state or federal court. So you go to federal court, and the federal court tells you, no, I'm not going to adjudicate this. I think this is more appropriate for state courts. This is a state court issue. So you get kicked around like a ping pong ball, and this is happening to property owners all over the place, including Mrs. Nick. So it's not only that you have oppressive government land use regulations that's the problem here, but there's a problem in getting justice for property owners. Unlike many other classes of constitutional plaintiffs who normally can go into court, and you can get it takes some time, but you can get a judge at least to tell you thumbs up or thumbs down. But property owners have to deal with these procedural rules that exist nowhere else that kick you back between different courts, wasting your resources, wasting your time, dragging you out, tiring you out, and the government has taxpayer-funded attorneys. And it's a real problem that's existed since 1985, and we're at Pacific Legal Foundation, we're trying to change this for Mrs. Nick so she can get this cemetery law looked at, but for everyone else too, including where you are. This is a nationwide problem of access to the court for property owners. May not be known that well, but it's a big problem.
Well, let me ask you this, David, and pardon my naivete on this, but did Mrs. Nick know when she bought the property that there were burial grounds on the property? Did she know that?
No, she didn't know that, and again, when the town passed this, she went back and looked at her title. She did some title searches, and there's no registered cemetery on her property. There's nothing on the title. No, we're talking about some stones. They're supposedly headstones. She owns 90 acres in a corner of property somewhere, and no, she didn't know that. But I would say this: even if she did, so what? You can't. The government can't come to you and say, well, you knew we might someday take your property, so you don't have a complaint. You still got to pay for what you take. And that's what she's asking here. She's saying, look, if you want to make my cemetery into a public cemetery, if there is a cemetery there, she's not even sure of that because no one's dug up anything there. If you want to make these headstones into a public viewing place, you at least got to pay me fair market value for putting a trail across 300 yards of my property from the nearest public road, and you got to allow me to have some ability to restrict where people go on my property, and she can't even get a court to look at that. They keep bouncing her back and forth, so now we're at the Supreme Court trying to take care of it.
You know, David, let me ask you this question then. You're talking about her rights are being diminished as a private property owner. Do they ask and demand that she furnish the right-of-way to drive onto her property to see these headstones? Are they going to make it kind of a circus atmosphere like, hey, buy a ticket, come see the gravestones? Is that the kind of atmosphere?
Well, I doubt it'll be that dramatic, but we're talking about what the town has said when it was questioned was that we're talking about her property is 90 acres. It's bisected by a road in rural Pennsylvania. So they're saying, well, anyone can park along the side of that road and then enter her property on foot. And this area is 300 yards into her property over, undeveloped, pretty nice farmland. She has animals out there, and they could walk across 300 yards to go to this where these supposed headstones are. No one knows how long they can stay there, and then turn around and traipse back. And this applies to someone from New Jersey as well as from some local there. There's no limit on who it is, and this is 7 days a week. So you're really talking about creating. You're creating. They're trying to create a public cemetery out of a supposed, I don't know, long-gone family burial ground from a couple hundred years ago. For whatever reason they're doing, it's really irrelevant, but they're invading her property.
Yeah.
Without paying for it.
Did she or anyone else in her family or her neighbors or whomever, did they start the ball rolling by shooting off their mouth and letting people know there were graves on that property? How did they, the left or the city, know that there were graves there?
Well, that's a little bit murky, but in the late 2000s, someone went to the town council and told them that they thought there might be some ancient headstones on that property. And I think, and then I don't know if this person had influence or not, or if Mrs. Nick wasn't liked very well, but whatever reason, that led to the town entering her property and looking around and then saying, oh, we found something, and then now you're subject to this law. You'll have to make this open to the public. There's no big hidden mystery here, though. Like I said, this isn't an Indian burial ground. This is supposedly a couple stones.
Wow.
No one's dug there. No one's been there.
Okay. We have a caller with a question. Go ahead. When you hear a cow on my program, it means a telephone call. Good morning, caller. You're on the air quickly for David Bremer.
Yes, I kind of have a naive question in a way. What happens if this lovely lady decides to get a Bramer bull or one of them Spanish fighting bulls as a pet and put on her property to raise as her own, and some idiot comes traipsing across there and gets mauled? Is she going to be liable, or is it for the idiot who decided he wanted to go out there and mess with the animal on his way over to look at some rocks?
I like that question. David, go ahead and respond to that.
Yeah, that's a great question. What's the deal with liability? That's part of the reason why the government has got to pay for this. If it's going to take this, it has to pay for it and take it, and it gets ownership, then it bears the liability, and it has to maintain. It can't do the same thing indirectly and force Mrs. Nick to bear the burdens of this type of invasion, the burden of watching it, the burden of maintaining it, maybe the burden of liability, like you suggest.
Yeah. You know, and right there, this is another chink in the armor of private property rights. Every day I hear somewhere, somehow, some group after private property rights in this country to diminish or destroy private property rights. And this is one that we might chuckle at like I did initially, but it could be very, very serious. Would it not be?
Well, sure. I mean, this is just another brick in the wall, so to speak. Private property in this country for the last 30 or 40 years really is sort of considered a second-class right, you know, not as important as a lot of people think, especially on the left, about as free speech and privacy and other things. And, of course, that's wrong. If the government can threaten your property rights, if it can get in your wallet or it can take your land without paying for you, you're sure not going to want to speak out and use your free speech. You're sure going to be limited in your other rights. Property is a cornerstone. Your ability to keep your own and keep it private and use it for your own purposes is a cornerstone of you being able to exercise all your other rights, because it gives you security, economics, all that kind of thing. So it is a big problem, and we're at Pacific Legal Foundation. We've been fighting the last 50 years, and we're going to continue to fight. We need good judges, but we also need an educated public that realizes that without private property rights, without the ability to exercise those rights, that everything else can be endangered.
Yeah, but, you know, let me ask you this, David, and you're a sharp guy on this, and I'm going to ask you a kind of a question that stretches even further. Going back to what the caller said just a few moments ago about put a bull on the property, and then if somebody walks on and gets injured, the liability, etc. But, you know, private property is just that, private property. And I, of course, have been in the rodeo business for years and years out here in the West, and I know what I'm talking about. If a private property owner has certain livestock on his property that's not real kind to humankind, be it fighting bulls or be it bulls in general, what about the public coming onto the property and leaving gates open, etc.? The liabilities that stem from such a case, as could happen in Pennsylvania with Mrs. Nick. I mean, holy smokes, there's not enough lawyers in the world to take care of all of these allegations.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, there is. That's one of the reasons why people keep their property private, is because there are some broad liability laws nowadays with people coming on, and you don't want to even have to get in that mess at all. You don't want to have, like Mrs. Nick, she has her property is bounded by stone walls. There's no trespassing signs at regular intervals around her property. It's not open. So she's taken good care to make sure that her property stays private. And when you put a trail on it to go see a cemetery, supposedly, or anything else, that whole system is rocked, and it's an uncertain thing for property owners to deal with. And it should be hard for the government to do things like this. And the Constitution is supposed to make it hard, regardless of whether they think their goals are good. The ends don't justify the means. The Constitution sets out pretty strict means, and if you don't comply with those, you shouldn't be able to do it. If you don't pay for property that you want to be made public, you don't get it normally.
Absolutely.
The problem is, as I mentioned before, that we agree with this a lot, but property owners, the judicial system, and the access to the courts to breaking these claims is hard for property owners. There are procedural rules that inhibit these actual substantive property rights, and we're trying to fix that in Mrs. Nix and other cases.
When is this case going to come to fruition or probably a finality? I mean, what do you think is going to happen here?
Well, it's always hard to get the United States Supreme Court to look at a case. They get thousands of requests. They don't have to take any. They can pick and choose. And so the odds are always difficult. Now, I hope, and I think this case is worthy of the Supreme Court stepping in, and partly because of the court access issue, to clarify that property owners aren't second-class citizens when it comes to the courts. Mm-hmm. And so I hope that they take the case, and we're waiting for the town's response on our request for the Supreme Court to take case. We'll get that, and then we'll wait, and sometime in early next year we'll have a decision from the Supreme Court on whether they take that case, and if they do, great, and we'll go there and win it, and if they don't, we'll find another case, and we'll keep fighting. Because that's what we do at Pacific Legal Foundation.
You guys and ladies are excellent at the Pacific Legal Foundation. Now, if people want to follow this case and follow the Pacific Legal Foundation and help as far as contributions, tell us how they can do that.
Well, you can go to our website at www.pacificlegal.org. For one thing, there's all kinds of interesting and disturbing, in some cases, property rights cases. We're national, and you'll see what we're doing, and it's I'm proud of it, and it's an important job. We're like the libertarian/conservative ACLU for property rights and economic rights, and we have a long and good history. Started by Reagan people back in the 70s, and we're growing stronger and getting bigger because we're on the right side.
I'll tell you what, David, keep us informed as to what's happening on this case. Pacific Legal Foundation attorney David Bremer, thank you so much for being on the program, and come back again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. You know, I read the synopsis of this case. I'll tell you what, I'm going to do a weather forecast, and then we'll talk about this just a little bit more. Right now, it's time for the weather, and the weather is brought to you by Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company, with offices in Burley and Rupert. And, oh, my goodness sakes, you better get a hold of them for the year-end tax planning for next year. And also, get your 1099s and W-2s out. They are the best at what they do, providing accounting services to the Mini-Cash area and beyond for over 50 years. Wow. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company, the very best, working for tax return preparation, tax planning, retirement planning, all of this and so much more. You get a hold of them today. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
It's going to feel a little bit like winter for today. Here is your weather forecast on this Monday for Zeb at the Ranch. We are expecting some scattered rain showers, possible snow showers throughout the morning. That's supposed to be dissipating after 11 o'clock. After that, partly sunny skies for this afternoon, high of 41 tonight. Clear, patchy, freezing fog is expected with a low right near 18. For tomorrow, that patchy, freezing fog in the morning going to be lifted by mostly sunny skies, high of 40. Mostly clear for tomorrow night with a low of 17. And for Wednesday, looks like sunny skies and a high of 47. And that is your Monday weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Oh, my goodness, Gina, thank you. And yes, it does look like winter outside. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company CPAs with offices in Burley and Rupert serving you. And they'd like to thank everybody out there for all their business with the best. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. You know, that lady, Mrs. Nick, back in Pennsylvania, with a great big assault on her private property rights, with the so-called finding maybe of a burial ground on her property. My goodness, you know, when you think about the ramifications of that case, and think about where you live. Maybe you live out by Twin Falls, south of Twin. Maybe you live over in Lincoln County. Maybe you live up towards American Falls. Maybe you live right here in Murtaugh. We are all very much maybe susceptible to having some kind of a court case like this because of people, historians, etc., saying, well, I think there used to be an ancient burial ground right there. Well, this lady back in Pennsylvania, now the state of Pennsylvania is saying that people can come on her property anytime, 7 days a week, 365 days a year for the purpose of viewing an alleged cemetery area. Whatever happened to private property rights? And in regards to the gentleman that called in and said, hey, put some real good fighting bulls on that property, sounds funny and you can get a chuckle out of it, but then the liability factors play in. The world is really screwed up and against private property ownership. Oh, my goodness. Let's see. I got to thank a lovely lady that helped from our church, as a matter of fact. And she went and picked up a whole bunch of spinners from the toy store in Twin Falls and wanted to donate these to various assisted living centers in the area, including Autumn Haven Assisted Living Center at 924 Christian Way in Rupert, 436-3200. That wonderful lady that I worked with, Jane Case, if she's listening, I just absolutely love this lady, and she's so kind. Well, don't forget Autumn Haven Assisted Living Center and the number to call, 436-3200. They are the only assisted living facility in the Mini-Cassia and Rupert area, I should say specifically, and they really would like you and your family, and maybe you've got a resident that needs that little extra one-on-one care. Well, they have personalized help for each and every person. Please stop by and check out the facility, Autumn Haven Assisted Living Center, and they welcome tours. They welcome you to come by and see them at 924 Christian Way in Rupert. The number to call, 436-3200. They're small compared to some, but with a bigger heart than most. I have time for one quick call. Give me a jingle on the landline. Love to hear from you at 436-3200. 436-3200. That was the other number, pardon me, 436-2244. It's been one of those kind of days. My mind is off on a high pinnacle up in the mountains someplace. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Tomorrow at 9:30, we are supposed to be getting a call from United States Senator Mike Crapo, and I've got a lot of different things to talk to him about. We're going to talk about the tax cuts. We're going to talk about the demise and dying of Obamacare. And one of the big worries I've got, and it was stated again this morning on the news, that the Republicans better get something done on health care or look out, Katie, bar the door. We're going to be seeing the single-payer system try to raise its ugly head and take over health care in this country. And believe me, that would be the total chaos and destruction of health care in this country forever. And we're going to talk to Mike about that tomorrow, along with other issues. We're going to talk to him about North Korea. We're going to talk to him about Donald Trump. We're going to talk to him about a lot of things. And one thing included, I'm going to ask him point blank blunt why the Republicans are so worried about just going through and putting things through, getting things done. Why are they worried about the Democrats? Just go ahead. You've got the House, you got the Senate, you got the Oval Office. Get it done now. That's one of the things I'm going to ask him about. Right now, we're going to take a little break for a few minutes and let the big boys from CBS come in here and mess things up. We'll be back in about 7 minutes. Wheels, old buddy, take it away. Good morning. Here we go. Hour number 3, Zeb at the Ranch, brought to you by, of course, our Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Get ready for winter driving. Stop in today and see any of the 7 locations, along with some of our advertisers like Western Way Services. Always at your disposal. Call, get on the route service, get rid of your garbage, 734-6969. We've got a great guest coming up in just a few moments, but I got to pay some bills, and tomorrow's election day, so don't forget about that. Hey, I want to remind you, on Thursdays we've got a segment called Cassia County School Days, brought to you by A Child's World at 1308 Overland and Burley, and they've got all kinds of baby clothing and the baby furniture and all. What a great place it is for birthday gifts. You better stop in today. A Child's World, 1308 Overland and Burley, along with the Ambulatory Surgery Center at 1344 Highland Avenue in Burley. Burley with the number to call, 677-8888. Life-saving colonoscopies, carpal tunnel surgery. Please call them today and find out more, 677-8888. Ambulatory Surgery Center and A Child's World, bringing you school days in Cassia County. Want to remind you that we've got many people running for various local offices tomorrow on November 7th, one of which, John Anderson, is running for the Burley City Council for a 4-year term. John is really concerned about water and water rights and the growth of Burley and making sure that all the citizens are really supported and listened to. He's concerned about the city infrastructure, and he is also very cognizant about growth of the area, and he wants to serve you. John Anderson for a 4-year Burley City Council term, paid for by John Anderson for the Burley City Council. Right now, without further ado, let's go to the phone line. And one of the people that I really enjoy having on this program, because she's going to tell it like it is, she's a straight shooter, and she is the founder and proprietor of ReaganBabe.com. Good morning, Megan Barth. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb. It's so good to be again with you. Thanks for having me back.
You know, Megan, there's so many topics that I want to talk to you about, but one of which I'm going to kind of steer off the rails here a little bit and have you elaborate a little bit on it. It's been over a month, and we still don't know all the particulars or the motive or why the difference in timelines with the Vegas shooting. This is right in your backyard. Can you tell us anything more about that?
Yeah, I can. Just this past week, late in the week, Sheriff Joe Lombardo sat down with a local press agency here and kind of gave a short interview, which really didn't, solve any of the mystery. However, one part of the interview, he said that he believes that the girlfriend of Stephen Paddock, the Filipino national, is holding something back. She's not coming forward and being very truthful. Well, thank you. I would tend to agree, especially when her name was on a valet receipt at the Mandalay Bay, which I would assume that means she was there. And if she was there, number one, cameras would tell us she was there because they do have cameras on the 32nd floor. That video footage has yet to be released or talked about or even mentioned. If she was there, she would have seen 10 suitcases brought up by her boyfriend into the hotel room. Now, as a girlfriend of another, if my boyfriend brought 10 suitcases for a 5-day trip, I certainly would wonder why, and I certainly would look into what was in the 10 suitcases. And so I would like to know many things outside of motive. When was her outbound flight to the Philippines? What was the date of her ticket? When did she leave? Was she really at the Mandalay Bay, which video footage would tell us? Where is she now? Is she in the same MGM Witness Protection Program as Jesus Campos is, who is really the first responder, if you want to call him that, the security guard that was first on the scene or on the floor and suffered a superficial wound to his leg from Stephen Paddock? So there's lots of questions, and one of the questions is another question: why did it take the Las Vegas Metro Police Department, or FBI, 12 days to tell us that the hard drive from his laptop, Stephen Paddock's laptop, was missing? Sheriff Lombardo did mention the missing hard drive and said that we may never know the motive of the shooter. Well, when ISIS takes responsibility for, 3 times for this massacre, why was that not mentioned? So there are more questions now, 1 month later, a month and a week later, than there were really days after the shooting, and it's because of the lack of public information and the lack of press conferences, really, that our law enforcement is holding in order to inform not only Nevadans of this massacre, but of the country. The country deserves answers.
In a very cool but yet very professional manner. You just laid out more of the professional, logical questions that need to be answered. And I'm looking at the Sheriff's Department. I'm looking at Clark County. I'm looking at the MGM. I'm looking at all these people, and it's no wonder people are coming up with conspiracy theories because they don't know whether the authorities are inept or if there's a cover-up. What's the bottom line here?
Well, I know many active LEOs. I also know many active retired LEOs and agents, and I would have to assume with the, close to 200 people that Las Vegas Metro has put on this crime scene in this case, that if there was a cover-up going on, one of those honorable law enforcement officers or agents would come forward and leak to the press, and they have not. What people have to understand is that the cover-up really that is going on, I believe, and this is personal opinion, but I base it on plenty of evidence, having lived here for a couple of years. The casinos control this town. And the last thing a casino wants is a terrorist attack associated with their brand. And so we did have, believe it or not, because I know you didn't hear it, and I will be writing about this week, a terrorist attack in Vegas that was completely covered up. It never made national news. Now, how do I know that? Because I was in a 5-hour traffic jam on the 15 freeway trying to get home, go 2 miles. It took me over 5 hours. Because an Islamist, an Islamic terrorist, tried to blow up the SLS hotel and then tried to escape authorities by using the 15 corridor on his way out. He didn't make it. He was brought up on terrorism charges. That never made national news. But this is the power of the casinos. In order to cover their own rear ends, they have a lot of power and influence in this town, specifically over the media. And I believe this is why there hasn't been more and more press conferences because of the casino's influence.
Okay, now, Megan, I'm going to give you an opportunity to call me a bigot and a hate monger. I'm going to make a statement and a couple of sentences after that. I am not in favor of diversity. I am not in favor of these people coming into our country with multiculturalism and changing things. There was an editorial in our local paper this last couple of days where a practicing lawyer in Twin Falls made this statement, and I want you to respond to it. He said, "It is high time we commit publicly and privately to embracing diversity." And my question is, why? At the risk of seeing a fragmentation of America. How would you respond?
What kind of diversity? I mean, diversity is a great euphemism, isn't it? But when the progressive left uses diversity and multiculturalism, and we must embrace it, well, diversity and multiculturalism mowed down 8 people in New York. Diversity and multiculturalism killed over 50 people at a Pulse nightclub in Orlando. Diversity and multiculturalism, it has bloodied the altar of the progressive left. You look at Germany, you look at Sweden, you look at any country that has embraced specifically Muslim diversity. That is where you see the most bloodshed. And it is not an anomaly. Wherever you see an increase in Muslim immigration, you see an increase in crime. Why? Because Sharia law, number one, we should ban Sharia and everything that goes along with it in this country because it is a political theology. You cannot coexist if you are Sharia compliant with our Constitution. The Constitution and Sharia law cannot coexist. So what kind of diversity would that lawyer like to see? The diversity visa program, for example, was originally drafted by Chuck Schumer and Teddy Kennedy. And it was originally implemented and invited European immigrants, specifically from Ireland and Poland. Now, the diversity visa program, there's only you have to have one of 2 requirements if you're an immigrant and want to use this visa program. The first requirement is you have to have an high school education or equivalent. If you don't have that requirement, then you simply need to work for 2 years. Now, under Barack Obama in 2008 and 2009, that diversity visa program changed from the Europeans and went into the third world countries in Africa and in the Middle East, like Uzbekistan.
Right.
So let's look at Uzbekistan, Zeb. What kind of high schools do you believe exist in Uzbekistan?
I would imagine.
And what if they don't go to high school, what is the equivalent of high school in Uzbekistan? Let's say they don't have any education. Let's say just the Uzbekistanis need to have a job for 2 years in order to enter this country. And oh, by the way, a requirement is not English. So the average worker in Uzbekistan is a cotton farmer, or works in the cotton field, or works in the terrorist industry, because 60% of Uzbekistanis are under the age of 30. And many of them, a majority of them, are men. They are perfect jihadis. And so over the past 10 years, under Barack Obama's and the progressive multiculturalism and diversity, we have allowed in illiterate, uneducated, non-English speaking immigrants. So I would like to know how that benefits, you can ask the lawyer, how that benefits the fabric of our society.
They don't want to assimilate. There is an absolute anarchy against any assimilation whatsoever. And I'm really concerned in this area right here of southern Idaho, people like myself are being called names. We're hate mongers. We're bigots. We're being demeaned because we want to see more assimilation. And quite frankly, I'll be honest with you, Megan, I want to see all the immigration, whether illegal or through legal channels, stopped until we can analyze and come up with a vetting system so we know who these people are. And I don't think you or anyone can tell me that we have a vetting system from Uzbekistan or wherever that is going to be fallible because nobody has any records. There are no county courthouses. There are no files or anything or dossiers on these people. How in the hell are we going to validate who they are?
Well, exactly. You make a very good point. What is the vetting system? What are the record keeping in Uzbekistan? There isn't one. So why should we open our doors to these people that are non-English speaking immigrants that aren't bringing a trade or a skill that is really benefiting our society? I have to ask you, and I'm just simply not aware, in southern Idaho, have you seen an increase in diseases? Have you seen an increase in tuberculosis, for example? These are also the benefits of diversity and multiculturalism, spikes in tuberculosis. The CDC actually thought we had tuberculosis cured. It was eradicated. But when you look at the tuberculosis rates, you can compare them directly to the increase in immigration, the diversity and multiculturalism. The increase in tuberculosis and other third world diseases are directly related to the increase in immigrant populations because they do not have the vaccines. They do, and the honor system by which the Barack Obama government placed on them to get rechecked for tuberculosis and to check in with doctors was never met. It was never enforced. What was the problem with Ellis Island? If we want diversity and multiculturalism, let's put future immigrants under the same requirements
Absolutely.
and the same testing that Ellis Island instituted.
Absolutely.
It worked wonders then.
Yep.
It could work wonders now.
I go back to what this lawyer said in this editorial, and it really offended me, the way he wrote that. He said, it is high time we commit publicly and privately to embracing diversity. You know, it's almost like the rest of us that are against embracing diversity and against maybe changing our culture or against seeing our culture fragmented here in the West or any of our attitudes and personalities. It's almost like we're being belittled and expendable. That's the attitude I had from that statement.
Well, that's the attitude that was meant to get, that is why that statement was constructed in the way it was constructed. That's your typical lawyerly progressive speech. Anyone that doesn't agree with them is a bigot. Anyone that doesn't agree with them is a racist.
Right.
Anyone that doesn't agree with them is a homophobe. It is a de facto argument. I would invite that lawyer onto your show. I'd be happy to debate him because his generalizations aren't founded in fact. They're founded in hyperbole and emotion, which can be deconstructed through statistics, demographic shifts, and facts.
With the lottery program to invite the Muslim radicals into this country, and Donald Trump, I think, being very forthright and saying that they've got to eliminate it, what about the left? What about the Schumers? What about the others that are absolutely tearing their hair out and gnashing their teeth, saying, oh, no, we can't stop that. Why, these people need to come here. What about the left? What about the Democrats?
The Democrats are about power and control, and their platform relies and actually promotes dependency on the federal government. And the more dependency on the federal government, the bigger the government, the happier the Democrat. This is where the Democrats get their control. That's why they embrace diversity and multiculturalism words, because these immigrants that are coming in, as soon as they get their green cards, they can go on welfare. I'd like to know how much the terrorists that used a truck to kill 8 innocents in New York, I'd like to know what he, his wife, and his 2 kids made a month off taxpayers. They certainly were on welfare. 85% of Muslim immigrants do not assimilate. That is a fact. According to Erdogan, who is the prime minister or dictator of Turkey, depending on how you look at him, he said that assimilation was a crime against Islam. So I'll take his word for it as leader of an Islamic country like Turkey. A majority of immigrants in this country, specifically Muslim, are on federal welfare benefits. And so this is a drain on our system. It's a drain on our taxpayer dollars. If you want to look at the English as a second language program that we have throughout every single school in this state, it's a very expensive program, and it's a failing program. And the reason we have that is because we are inviting immigrants into this country who do not speak English and aren't well educated enough to grasp the English language. And so these are, a very expensive multiculturalism and diversity programs that have failed and will continue to fail unless we revamp our immigration laws.
Let me ask you one other subject. I've got about 3.5 minutes left here, Megan, and you're very, very talented and very diversified in coming up with various information on topics. Donna Brazile, she really has put her neck on the chopping block right now with the book that's coming out that really is going to show the Clintons for what they are and also the Democratic Party for what they are. What are your thoughts about Donna Brazile?
Well, first of all, I refer to the Democrat Party, the DNC, as the Democrat network of criminals. I wish that Donna Brazile would have come forward earlier before she rigged a debate in Hillary Clinton's favor by giving Hillary Clinton questions. We now know Barack Obama left the DNC in $24 million in debt. Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton took over the DNC in order to manipulate the results of the primaries and make sure that she was going to be the nomination and not a quote-unquote independent non-Democrat like Bernie Sanders. So now what we see is Donna Brazile playing the martyr. She had to light a candle before she called Bernie. That was her statement to Politico, and tell him what she had uncovered. Now we have Elizabeth Warren wanting an independent like Bernie Sanders to be welcomed into the Democrat Party, which shows you how far left the Democrat Party is willing to shift. They knew that Hillary Clinton was a flawed candidate. They knew she was not trustworthy. They thought they had enough fraud built into the election in order to skew it towards Hillary Clinton's favor. Yet they couldn't win the Rust Belt, to their shock and dismay. So what they would like to do is capitalize on the socialist following and the energy that Bernie Sanders had created and double down on that platform. Because if you look at the Democrat platform, what is the Democrat platform? That's why they've lost 4 elections. That's why they lost a national election. And so instead of appealing to the middle class, they are going to appeal to the fringe and to the millennials, who 40% of millennials prefer communism and socialism over capitalism.
Wow, I wish I had more time. Megan Barth, you're always welcome here, an expert on Muslim immigration and also founder and proprietor of ReaganBabe.com. Megan Barth, thank you, and please come back soon.
Anytime. Thanks so much, Zeb.
Thank you. Have a great day. Thank you. She knows, and she's very forthright and honest, and I appreciate her. Megan Barth, and one of my favorite guests on this program. Wow, we got a lot of things to do here over a short period of time. I want to remind you, tomorrow Election Day, and Ralph Carlson is running for candidate for the Burley City Council. He's a retired man and has a lot of time to spend right on the advancement and the growth of Burley, has an understanding of how businesses work, and believe me, he wants to help with the challenges for the future of Burley as far as, the zoning restrictions restrictions and utilities, street and recreational facilities. He wants to be a part of the growth and help manage it on the Burley City Council. Ralph Carlson asking for your vote tomorrow for Burley City Council, paid for by Ralph Carlson. Also want to remind you, too, as I take a look here at my book, Lennox with their home comfort systems. Oh, you can be cozy on the inside, regardless of what the weather is on the outside. All you got to do is check out the Lennox home comfort systems through our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. And you might get up to a $1,600 rebate. All you got to do is call and find out. 678-0459. Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox, saving you money. Really good, folks. By the way, too, this last hour, excuse me for the frog in my throat this morning. It must be the winter chill or whatever. I don't know. But I want to remind you, too, about Autumn Haven Assisted Living Center. We talk about these good folks every day on my program. And believe me, they have a wonderful facility over in Rupert. And they are the only locally owned and operated assisted living facility in the Mini-Cache area. And they provide more one-on-one care. They really want to help their residents, and they urge you to stop by or give them a call and find out more. All you need to do is call 436-3200, and like I said, you can stop by anytime, tour the facility, and see if it's just going to be just right for your family member. So again, remember, Autumn Haven Assisted Living Center at 924 Christian Way in Rupert. The number to call, 436-3200. They're small compared to some, but with a bigger heart than most. By the way, Steve Orman running for mayor of Burley. Steve Orman wants your vote tomorrow for the mayorship of Burley, and he's a man that has been a resident of Burley for over 30 years. Very experienced leader, manager, and commercial loan officer in the banking industry, and very active in community events. And he has the people skills, knows about budgeting, and he knows about assigning priorities. He really wants to help Burley grow in the right direction. Don't forget Steve Orman asking for your vote for mayor tomorrow, November 7th, paid for by Steve Orman for mayor. Don't forget to vote tomorrow, November 7th. Right now, we're about ready to send it back over to our main studios, and then we'll be back with another guest. We're going to have Robert McGee on the phone with us, and he's going to talk a little bit about the Mueller investigation, and we're going to find out a whole bunch more. So don't you go away. Wheels, take it away.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Thank you very much. Election Day tomorrow, November 7th. Don't forget, and Bryce Morgan would like your vote for the Burley City Council. Here's a man that knows we got a lot of challenges ahead, and he sees the future in managing growth. He's a man that graduated from Burley High School and has a degree in business administration and a bachelor's degree in accounting. He's been in the transportation industry for the last 14 years, a fiscal conservative, and believes in keeping family, business, and government out of debt. Bryce Morgan would love to have your vote tomorrow, November 7th, for the Burley City Council. Don't forget to vote tomorrow. Bryce Morgan for City Council, paid for by Bryce Morgan. I want to also remind you there's a great big cattle sale coming up, and this is a slogan of Malson, Angus, and Hereford Ranch up in Parma, in the Fruitland and Parma area. Quality comes first. Bull and female sale at Malson, Angus, and Herefords. And boy, the Malson Sale Barn at 3135 Elmore Road between Parma and Fruitland. And here I'm going to give you the number. 208-739-0725. Oh, my goodness, they're going to have a great selection of stout, rugged, range-ready bulls, 30 head of fall yearling bulls, 50 head of Angus coming 2-year-old bulls, 15 Hereford bulls, and great Angus females. I'm telling you, November 18th is the day they're going to have all the cattle on display. Then on the 19th, they're going to have a great big tri-tip dinner at noon with a sale to follow at 1 p.m. Don't miss this sale. sale. It's absolutely one of the very, very best. Call Josh at 739-0725. Molson, Angus, and Hereford sale coming up on November 19th. Don't you miss it. Right now, let's go to the phone line. A gentleman that I don't think has been on this program before, but we're looking forward to having him here this morning. He's a best-selling novelist and knows all about politics, a former Manhattan tax attorney, Robert McGee. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning. Very good. Thank you.
Nice to have you on the program. And I think, simply put, first of all, let me talk a little bit about your books. I understand that you're quite a novelist. Give us a little bit of insight as to the titles and some of the books that you've written.
Okay. Well, my first novel was called Justifiable Homicide, a political thriller. And that's basically about vigilantes in Miami who decided some politicians and other bureaucrats have gone over the line. They've violated too many of our rights, and they decide to do something about it. But they have squabbles among themselves as to who they should take out, put on the list, what punishment is justifiable, and so forth. And I'm hoping to have that one made into a movie because it takes place in Miami, and it's a really good place for a movie.
Robert, I'm going to ask you to speak up just a little bit more if you could. We're having a hard time trying to pick you up over there. When you say vigilantes, it almost sounds like you're talking about the Democratic Party and also the Mueller investigation.
Well, it could be tied into several of my novels. One thing my novels have in common is the tension that exists between the individual and big government, and how that government officials, if they abuse their power, they can crush individuals because the legal system doesn't always protect them. And my novel goes through a bunch of examples of how that happens. They're based on real-life examples. Eminent domain would be one thing, and they're confiscating people's assets without due profit and shutting them down so they can't speak. There's a lot of problems with free speech these days, especially on campuses. The liberals, left-wingers, whatever you want to call them, want to shut down anyone who doesn't agree with them, and that's becoming more and more prominent. I write those things in my various novels, and again, the common thread is the tension that exists between the individual and the government, or between conservatives and liberals. The differences of opinion that people can't just get along. They have to push their agenda down other people's throats.
Right. Let me ask you a little bit about the Mueller probe and the supposed collusion with Russia and all this other dirt. It's been almost a year, and Donald Trump still has not had anything creep out of the grave, if you will, and slap the news media in the face with proof of all these allegations. What are your thoughts about the Mueller probe and the investigative philosophy of going and turning over all these headstones?
It appears to me that it's a witch hunt. I mean, if you look at some of the people on Robert Mueller's team, they've contributed over $50,000 to the Democrats, Hillary and the Hillary campaign, other Democrats, and so forth. And it's been over a year, and they haven't really been able to tie anything between Trump and the Russians. They're going after all kinds of other things, though. They've come up with some things on Paul Manafort. He lied. He maybe evaded some taxes and things, but that was before the Trump campaign. And, the same with Richard Gates, his sidekick, and the George Papadopoulos, whose name I have trouble pronouncing. It seems that they have some Russian connections, but there's nothing that's come up so far about Russia trying to influence the campaign in the president's favor. It seems like they're on a witch hunt. And also some of the other things involved, like that Washington Free Beacon, that's like a conservative website, that they hired this other group of researchers to dig dirt on Trump, even before he was the candidate, when he was just trying to get the candidacy. And once he became the Republican nominee, they sort of farmed out their work to the Democratic Party. The DNC Clinton campaign hired them to continue digging dirt on Trump. And it didn't have anything to do with Russia, per se, just any kind of dirt, just so that they could get him booted out of the office before he took office. And then there's this British spy, Christopher Steele, I think his name is, from MI6. He contacted some of his former KGB buddies in Russia, trying to dig things up on Trump, and he had a big dossier, 30 or 40 pages long, that he tried to give to the press, but the press wouldn't buy it because everything was unsubstantiated. Then the FBI wanted to hire the British spy to continue digging dirt on Trump. And that concerns me because the FBI is not supposed to be digging into presidential candidates trying to find dirt on them.
Absolutely not.
Especially if it's unsubstantiated. It seems like it's a cabal that's just focused on getting Trump out of the picture so that the Republicans could have a weaker candidate. That's what it looks like on the surface, anyway. I don't know what's going on underneath.
Robert, let me ask you this, and I'm just kind of a simple old cowboy that lives out here in Idaho, but one of the questions that I've always wanted to ask someone like you is that for all the leaks that have taken place in various administrations, leaking of information, oh boy, and a lot of people want to hurt Trump any way they can, Democrats that still work within the confines of our government, they would do anything to hurt Trump. Doesn't it surprise you that after almost a year of being in presidency that there are no leaks?
I'm surprised that the number of leaks have been cut down drastically because shortly after Trump became president and even before there were a whole bunch of leaks, probably by Democrats within the administration. And part of that, I think, is due to what Obama did a few weeks before he left office. He sort of broke down some of the firewalls between the various federal agencies so they could share information. And because it seems everybody in those 11 or 15 or 18 government agencies, whatever it was, can now share the information, it became much easier to get information and much easier to leak it because there were so many people who had access to it. And that was done by executive order, as I recall. And I think maybe Trump did something to reverse that. Maybe that's why there aren't as many leaks now. But again, that's just, dirty pool in the last days of the Obama administration, just to make Trump's life difficult, I think.
On the reverse, though, Robert, I know that you, like me and other Americans, are very concerned about what happened with the Uranium One deal. We don't know all the particulars, but it sounds to me like there were some ill-advised sources that were trying to help Russia and other countries get our uranium, and the Clintons came out the prosperous ones for it. What are your thoughts about that scandal?
Well, I'm surprised and sort of disappointed that the mainstream media has not been covering that. Like CNN for months, they just refused to report it at all. And the big question is, why did all those Russians give so much money to the Clinton Foundation, over $100 million? Because they can't even get a tax deduction for that. So there must have been some reason for them to give so much money to the Clinton Foundation. And it was right about the same time that uranium deal was going down. It just seems treasonous that we would sell our uranium to Russia. And of course, it was done clandestinely, and there was a Canadian corporation involved somehow. But the bottom line is Russia has the right to take out 20% of our uranium, and the Clinton Foundation got over $100 million at about the same time. That the FBI should have been all over this a long time ago, but for some reason they seem to just ignore it. The mainstream media has ignored it. There's only a few media outlets that have actually been talking about it. Some people on Fox and American News Network and so forth are about the only ones that have spent any time talking about that. The rest of the media is just pretend it doesn't exist, or they interview people from the Democratic Party who say it's just a bunch of lies, nothing ever happened. And it seems like we have two different sets of media in this country.
Mm-hmm.
One set doesn't want to report a lot of the news that's going on, and I've never run into that before, and I've been around a long time. Even during the Nixon administration, where they seem to be going after Nixon like crazy, at least you could hear both sides of the argument, but now the media is completely silent on some of these things. Not just the uranium deal, but there are some other sort of funny things going on. I think if you trace back the money to the Clinton and the Clinton Foundation, where's the money coming from and why are people contributing, especially if they're foreigners and they can't get a tax deduction? I think there are several investigations that could be launched just on that phase of what's going on.
Absolutely.
It doesn't seem that that's happening. It's almost like the FBI doesn't want to investigate those things.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
You know, you mentioned the Clintons and their money and the Clinton Foundation and everything. And final thought here, Robert. When you hear about what's going on and some of the mafia-type responses from the Clintons and the foundation, and now Donna Brazile coming out and making some really pointed statements against Hillary and Bill, the foundation, etc., and the Democratic Party, what are your thoughts about Donna Brazile and what she's trying to open up in front of the American public?
Well, she's known to be a liar, because of what she did before with the Bernie Sanders thing. But I'd like to think that she's telling the truth now, only because it exposes so much of what the Clintons were up to behind the scenes. Clintons and the supporters and the Never Bernie people. And I'm glad that she's coming out with it, and some of the mainstream media is even starting to cover that, which is a welcome surprise for me. But she seems like she's telling the truth this time. It's just because she's lied in the past, you have to discount anything she has to say, but the mere fact that the Clintons aren't ignoring it, that they're coming back with their own attacks, seems to indicate that she's hitting pay dirt.
Yeah.
I just hope that the FBI investigates that, or the Senate or the House. Somebody needs to investigate that to see what's going on, because it looked like the DNC threw the election to Hillary, and Debbie Wasserman Schultz is a part of that too. I'd like to see what she has to say. She's been denying things and ignoring the press and so forth. And somebody needs to really ask her some questions under oath.
Absolutely.
Or a special prosecutor, somebody, because we just can't let this happen.
Absolutely.
If this continues to happen, we're going to be a banana republic where the elections are decided behind closed doors and a screen and so forth.
Absolutely.
I don't want that to happen to my country.
Robert McGee, author...
On Earth, although it seems to be going downhill in some ways.
Absolutely, sir. Robert McGee, author of the book called Justifiable Homicide, and great political pundit. Thank you very much for being on the program this morning, Robert. Look forward to having you back. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nice man right there, Robert McGee, and as I said, he's got a book out called Justifiable Homicide, and also a political pundit talking about the Clintons and the Clinton Foundation and all the money, etc. We're going to get the weather forecast on here right now, and it's sponsored by Scarro's Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. Number to call, 324-7657. Don Scarro and the rest of the folks over there, they have put together a phenomenal retail meat department over there at Scarro's Meats, and if you want to find out more, go to their website, scarrosmeats.com. Woo, it is good. I mean, from bacon to prime rib, they've got it all over there at Scarro's Meats in Jerome. Right now, here's Gina with our forecast.
It's going to feel a little bit like winter for today. Here is your weather forecast on this Monday for Zeb at the Ranch. We are expecting some scattered rain showers, possible snow showers throughout the morning. That's supposed to be dissipating after 11 o'clock. After that, partly sunny skies for this afternoon, high of 41 tonight. Clear, patchy, freezing fog is expected with a low right near 18. For tomorrow, that patchy, freezing fog in the morning going to be lifted by mostly sunny skies, high of 40. Mostly clear for tomorrow night with a low of 17. And for Wednesday, looks like sunny skies and a high of 47. And that is your Monday weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Oh, my goodness, my goodness, my goodness. Thank you, Gina. She always does a great job on our weather forecast, and it's brought to you this hour by Scarro's Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. I'm telling you, they have all the delicious meats. Once a week, at least, I'm going to highlight the bratwurst. You know, the brats, jalapeno, cheddar, apple, cinnamon, German, Italian, chorizo. They've got them all kinds of different meats for your enjoyment, because they are changing the way we eat one delicious bite at a time at Scarro's Meats in Jerome. You be sure and check it out. All right, I got some time. I'd really appreciate some calls on various things that we've talked about here today. Anything you want to talk about for the next couple of minutes. I got about, 6 minutes or so. We can get some phone calls. I got to tell you, I was a little bit unhappy and miffed at two former presidents, father and son, George I and George II Bush. I think that they made some remarks over the last couple of days that I found below them. I think they are remarks that they'll probably wish in the future that they wouldn't have said. And it was about our current president, Donald Trump. I think that many presidents, they try to not say anything derogatory or not say anything that's going to really grab the news people and have them run with it as a front page story. But both George I and George II came out and called Trump a blowhard. I don't think that was necessary at all, especially with all the problems that George II had with the Barack Obama administration after he left office. And I just think it was below them, George I and George II, to say something as kind of common and low class as calling Donald Trump a blowhard. What are your thoughts about this? Most of which Donald Trump has said in regards to many, many subjects, they've come true. They've come true, and we were laughing at him in the media. The media was poking fun at him, but we've seen a lot of things, especially the problem with the Democratic National Committee coming true. And I just think it was below the Bushes to come out with such a calloused and unprofessional statement like that. What are your thoughts? Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Like to hear what you have to say, so give me a jingle here this morning. Let's see, I also wanted to mention, again, thanks to Jane Case, she got a whole bunch of these spinners. I don't know what they're called, fidget spinners. And I got a whole box of them that are going to go to some of the senior centers, and I just want to say thank you very much. They were donated from the toy store in Twin Falls. Jane Case picked them up, and we have them over here, and we're going to make sure some of the assisted living centers have them. They're kind of a neat little deal, but we're going to find out more and make sure that the people that need them are going to get them and can use them. Thank you very much. Next Monday, I want to talk a little bit about this. We're going to celebrate Veterans Day. Veterans Day is actually on the 11th, which is Saturday, but on the 13th, my dear friend George Mass has helped me put together a Veterans Day program. And we're going to have a lot of vets on our program. We're going to have J.R. Strunk. We're going to have Georgia and Mike Greenwell. We're going to have Kelly Anthon. Senator Kelly Anthon's going to be on here. And I believe we're going to have Marv Haggett on. We're going to have a lot of people on this program. And we're going to have from 9:30 till 10, and then 10 to 10:30 and 10:30 to 11, an hour and a half, just for our veterans, for Veterans Day. I know it's going to be a couple days late, being celebrated on Saturday, but actually we're going to do it on Monday. And I want to give a lot of thanks and a shout-out to George Mass for all the work he does in helping our veterans. Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I'd like to hear from you. Wheels, did you have a good weekend out in the snow and the ice and the slush?
It was until I tried getting up and, tried getting into my house, and it was like, nah, screw this. So I had to put down some, salt on the ramp, and thank God that.
Did you ever have the occasion? Did you ever have the occasion on the ramp? And I can say this because here a couple of years ago, when I was in a wheelchair because of my hip operation, and then earlier to that, my knee operation, and the weather turns bad, and you're going up the ramp, and it's slippery, and you're just about halfway up the middle of the ramp, and all of a sudden you look up, you look up and say, "Uh-oh," and you slide all the way back down to the bottom.
See, it's kind of different for me because I kind of like to keep my arms and everything in good shape.
Yeah.
So I actually use the one leg that I got, and I go up backwards.
That's a smart way to do it. That's a smart way to do it. But, did you employ the use of the rope like I told you about, hanging that on the railing and then pulling yourself up?
No, I didn't, because you know what? Once my foot slips, then I just go back down the ramp anyways, and I couldn't imagine if the rope was connected to my chair.
I have turned into an Olympic skier because on my deck, I've got a ramp, and it has a pretty good slope to it. And last winter, I know that I was walking out of the house, and I just thought, well, Katie barred the door, and literally slid the whole length of that ramp. I've never been a good skier, but that was one of the best moves I ever made.
Well, and see, so now you kind of will know what it's like if you ever get the chance to go skiing, but it's kind of like that for me too, I guess. I mean, my ramp is kind of at like a 90-degree angle, so it slopes down pretty good, you know.
People like us, we hate snow and ice.
Yeah, if anybody could give me a plane ticket to go to Arizona or something for the winter, I would be blessed.
I don't blame you, man. I don't like it at all. I know Sunday we had some snow and ice on my deck, and we were going out to church, and I headed out the door, and all of a sudden I thought, no, I better check and see how slippery it is. Woo! Man, I'm telling you what, I almost went to the bottom in about 1.0 seconds. Anyway, I've got to pay some bills, but you be careful out there because it looks like we're getting some more snow right now, okay?
Will do.
All right, buddy. Hey, don't forget your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you for wintertime driving. They know about the ice and the slush and the snow. And they've got all the different tires for your cars and your pickups and your SUVs that are going to get you through all the yuck. That's right. At all 7 locations, they've got all the different tires. They've got all the tire chains. They've got the best in brake service. They've got all the front end alignment shocks and struts and the batteries. I want to highlight that on batteries too. You want to make sure that in these colder mornings you go out there, turn the key, and yep, you got an engine that's going to respond instead of going click, click, click. They've got the best in batteries at all 7 locations. Don't forget Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline and Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland and Burley, the best. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, where doing the right thing matters, and believe me, they do. Oh, my goodness. Tomorrow on the program, as I stated, we're going to have Senator Mike Crapo at 9:30. Dr. History is going to be here. We're going to have a couple of other folks on the air tomorrow morning. Should be a really interesting program, but I want to urge you to get out and vote tomorrow, November 7th. Don't forget to go vote, okay? Until tomorrow morning at 8:06, Zeb Bell saying, tune us in, 12:30 a.m., K-Bar Radio, along with on the internet, zebbell.com. We're heard all over the world, so we invite you to tune in tomorrow morning, and we always say when we wrap up the program, the way things were are the way things ought to be. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 8:06.